get this started so that we can talk to Kimberly about Calm, because I'm a fan of Calm. I'm Kristen Vanderveen, and I'm happy to welcome all of you to this session about using Calm in your chemistry classroom. Our presenter today is Kim Arnold. Kim is in her third year as a lecturer in the Department of Chemistry at Indiana University, which expands on her involvement in the educational mission of the department. She's been there since 2007, and she began as an adjunct instructor. Her interest in using technology in the classroom comes from her desire to help students succeed in their introductory chemistry courses. This technology provides resources to help students feel empowered and allows them to actively participate in the classroom learning environment. In addition to her departmental teaching responsibilities, Kim serves as a liaison for the Advanced College Project, collaborating with high school teachers throughout Indiana. Okay, so I'm going to post a link to the group chat in the group in the chat, which is a document. When we go into breakout rooms, we can record notes. I just wrote notes and didn't post the link. There it is. And so if everyone wants to just go and grab that and open it up when we go into the breakout rooms, we can, if we decide to do that, that we can keep track of conversations there. They will be recorded as well, but sometimes it's nice to have just written a summary. So we'll just sort of play that by ear. And I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
All right, I am gonna start this presentation from the beginning here. Can everyone see that screen all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you, Kristen, for that introduction. And I am gonna be talking to you about Calm. I'll get into that a little bit more, but before I start, I thought since this is the New England Association of Chemistry Teaching, I would show a picture from a trip out. This was last year. Our family went out east and went through Boston on our way to Maine. So I don't know if any of those look familiar to those of you that live in New England over there. We had some great hikes in Acadia National Park. So we did spend a lot of money on lobster and seafood as well. So there's some family. And I want to also thank Kristen for inviting me to come and talk to you guys today.
Yeah.
So I am not out east. I am in Bloomington, Indiana, and this is about an hour south of Indianapolis, the capital city here. And here's a couple of pictures from campus. When I went to go pull up campus pictures, they already had a whole section of pictures of students in mass. I think they're really trying to push this point. So that top one, here's some posed students. There's a whole bunch of them I could have picked from, but you can see it is a beautiful campus. It's really well kept up, and there's a lot of limestone. We're the limestone capital of the world, is kind of like in between Bloomington and the next city down, Bedford, Indiana. So it is a beautiful place to be. And we just actually celebrated the 200-year anniversary of IU just this past year. The town is made up mostly of I think once the students come back, when it's a normal year, the students make up like 40% of the town. So it is a college town with all the great things that go along with that. All right, so here are some of the initial questions. I thought this would be a good start to a breakout room. So trying to think about engaging students. That's one of the goals that we all have when we are teaching, is to kind of get the students to not just hear it, but we know it takes a lot for them to actually understand and be able to use and apply the concepts that they're getting. So I want to look at some of these questions. How do you assess the understanding of students on a regular basis? What does that look like in your classroom? I never wanted to answer questions out loud. I always liked small groups better. So what about those students that don't feel comfortable asking questions in class? And then how do you guys currently use computers to help teach and to help students learn? So if we can look at these three questions kind of in a breakout room for a few minutes, that would be an excellent thing.
All right. I know we had at least one person join the group since I posted the link. So I'm going to post the link again. And so everyone should just go grab that link and open it up. And then I'm going to set us up into breakout rooms. Do you want 2 rooms or 3 rooms?
Let's see, how many people do we have? I think
there's 9 participants right now.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 would be fine, I think, probably.
Okay. So it's just going to do that randomly. And then you guys can just, there are pages for you where you can just go to the page corresponding to your breakout room, and it will send you there right now.
And I just added those questions.
Okay. Oh, Angela, let me add you to a group here. Sorry. You came in right in after I must have done the breakout rooms. There she is. Okay. Hi, Leslie. How are you? You're muted.
I'm doing okay.
Hanging in there?
Yeah, my father passed away Saturday night.
I'm so sorry, Leslie.
The alternative was not pleasant either, so.
True, true. Let me know if there's anything I can do, okay?
Tomorrow I won't be answering my phone in the middle of sessions.
Yeah,
I've been
no.
doing today. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Are we all back? I think we might all be back.
We're all back. All
We're
right.
all back. So, Kim, are you ready to go move on?
Yeah.
We all want to hear about Calm now that we've talked about.
Now that we've talked about some things, let me share what Calm looks like. Let me go back to the sharing our screen here. All right. So these are some of the questions that Romualdo de Souza started thinking about. And this is back in like early 1990s. And he came in as a pretty new faculty member at IU and had, you know, when the new faculty members usually get the bigger classes, so you had like a, you know, 500 student lecture, and you just can't really, you know, individually work with students when you have such a large number. And we know as teachers, you know, the time that you spend grading is high, and making all the different assessments. And now that we're going to have to switch to a lot of us either hybrid or some type of online, or if anyone starts in person, we have to be able to go to online pretty quickly. That trying to figure out how to assess students and give them feedback in a timely manner would be helpful, right? If you're collecting worksheets that you're trying to like look at their work, And then by the time you can, even if you're just looking through them just to see if they kind of get the right answers without even giving, you know, a point breakdown or whatever, it might take you several days before you can get them back. And by that point in lecture, you've already moved on to new material. So to give them this chance to kind of work through things on their own and get that instant feedback, he thought about coming up with this. And honestly, he, if he would have said, I'm going to now get this published and start making people pay and put this out in the market, he would be one of the first ones. So he was right at the same time that like sapling learning was coming out, and I think this is before OWL and some of these other ones. Nowadays, a lot of these online homework systems come with your publisher textbook, which is great if you have that money to pay for it. But because Romualdo did not want this to have any cost with it, it has been free for teachers to use. And I think that's probably the best, but let me see my presentation. There we go. All right, so here is what the CALM looks like, and CALM stands for Computer Assisted Learning Method. And the key thing you probably want to see on the screen is underneath where it says that, it says a free web-based online homework system. So that is the key thing for Romualdo, is that he wanted this to be free and always has been. This was first used at IU in the big lectures, and then it later was made available to high school teachers. And usually it started around like Indiana, and it has spread all over from there. A lot of times, and Kristen can probably attest to this as well, your students will say, I'm not calm about this at all. Okay, even though it's called CALM.
Yeah,
sometimes they get any type of homework system. Oh, sorry, go ahead. What, Kristen?
I said my students don't allow me to say calm anymore.
Do they have a new name for it?
No, they just don't like it. They're like, no, you can't. There are certain words I can't say, and that's one of them.
One is calm. They don't always feel calm. Now they should feel calm, because honestly, it is a really good system. The students get the instant feedback. So the teacher sets it up. There's questions, there's due dates. You're in control of pretty much the whole thing yourself. And the students can go back in and they can keep working on the question over and over again. If they answer it and it's right, it says, good job, Kimberly Arnold, you are correct. Or it will say, sorry, your answer is incorrect, please go back. And they are not marked off if they get it incorrect, as long as they get it done by the due date. And there is a way to print them off. And so we often will have students, and I will say this, if you get stuck on a problem, don't just work. Please bring it in. Perhaps it's just a formatting error. Perhaps you just have it set up, incorrectly, or you're trying to solve for this, but the question actually asks you to solve for this. So oftentimes it's just an easy fix. So I don't want them to kind of be staying up all night working on these things. And so it's also a good way for them to kind of balance their time and think about doing things before the assignments are due. All right, this is web-based. So you can access it on a computer, laptop, mobile device, as long as you can access the internet. You don't have to download any software or anything for it. This is the main screen that you get to when you type in calm.indiana.edu. We'll look at it again, but we'll move on. Let's see. So here's the motivation. We know that science classes need problem solving, and you need it repetitive. Okay, you will just learn and keep with the material if you have regular small chunks of studying versus just one time slamming before an exam. And since teachers have so much to do, if you can have a system that allows you to have that feedback for your students immediately, that would be beneficial for them. We were talking in our breakout session about sometimes students will find ways to cheat. For some reason, they think they'll just take the easy way and I'll just look up this question. One of the great things about the CALM questions is that they're individualized for students. And so each student, when they log in, so if I log in and Kristen logs in, we both click on question number 1, we would both get the same question, but maybe different numbers. Or maybe she has to find moles of calcium chloride and I'm finding moles of calcium nitrate. Something like that, where, it's just kind of depends on how it's written. Now, each one has got a student number, and so, or a number associated with that question. So if Kristen solves it, and then she shows me her number, and I put that number in so I get the same exact question, do you know what happens there? It says, oh, you did a great job, but guess what? That wasn't your question number, so you can't answer that one for credit. So it kind of makes sure that they have to answer their own questions. Now, the great thing is, instead of not talking at all, we do want them to encourage talking, so be cooperative, but they're not saying, hey, this is the answer, this is the answer. They have to talk about how you set up the problem or how you solve it, instead of, hey, what's the answer? Worksheets, especially paper ones, you know, we find students just quick outside the hall, just copy answers quickly. This way, at least they have to have their own work done. And then as the instructor, you also can go in and be like, oh, a lot of students are getting this one wrong or haven't solved this question. Maybe I need to go back, look at this question, see what concepts are being addressed here that they're struggling with. And then that can kind of influence how you go about your lesson if you want to retouch on anything. So you get some feedback as well on how the students are doing. All right, so the thing in yellow here is a quote from Romaldo. This is his community project. It is community owned and freely available for everybody. Okay, so P through 16. He I thought this was kind of funny. 21st century barn raising in the finest Hoosier in American traditions. This is a teamwork project here to keep Calm going. So if you joined in on Calm, you're kind of joining part of this team. And that means if you see errors in the program, you should, send that in and say, hey, please fix this question. We encourage teachers to write their own questions if they feel up to it. It's not definitely not necessary, but you're more than welcome to kind of do that as well. All right, let's see. Kristen, if you keep an eye on the chat, let me know if anything comes up. And if I'm going too fast and you guys have a question, please feel free to stop me at any time. All right, so I want to lay out right away from the beginning kind of the challenges and some of the downsides of Calm. And on the left is kind of like, you can see the Calm menu and then what a question looks like. And then on the right, does anyone know what this one's from? This is from Pearson, Mastering Chemistry. Anyone notice anything different about these two, or one that they just think seems a little bit better than the other? Any comments anyone wants to share?
Well, I'm going to just pipe in. I don't use Mastering Chemistry myself, but it's a commercial product and it's got a really slick user interface, right? It's really pretty, it's really streamlined, it's really easy to use. Calm is a little more basic, but that's okay. I'm not complaining.
It is. Honestly, this is now the biggest thing. All these other ones, the OWL, the Quest, the Sapling Learning, and then now those ones I think are tied to textbook specifically, and Calm isn't textbook tied either. But then there's other ones that are textbook tied, right? Like Pearson, the Mastering Chemistry, and these other ones, I don't know them all. They have a bunch of people working for them. They have, programmers to make it all look nice, design staff, and it's going to look nicer. Okay, and I definitely would be drawn towards the one on the right. But let's go through that really big plus sign for Calm. It is free. It has always been free, and it will always be free. At the college level at IU, several classes have switched over. So honestly, in one of the classes that I was teaching, I used to use Calm, but I switched over to Mastering Chemistry because we were able to get a bundle ebook that came with Mastering Chemistry, cheaper than what it was costing the students just to buy the book in the first place. And in the college level, we have them buying their textbook. High school is different. The school district is providing the books. You often don't switch books. You have some type of rotation, sometimes several years. So that way, you don't have this extra money to spend per student on these resources. But if you still want an online homework system with great benefits, go to Calm, even if it looks like this. I'm still trying to get our one programmer to get some work with it, but I did tell Romelda, I'm like, hey, if you just do a minimum charge for students, we can make this look really nice. And he's like, this is not what it was intended for, and he's just not going to do it. So there you go. That is your downside. It doesn't look as pretty, and it can be a little bit more trickier to get set up. Okay, Kristen and I were talking, and she's been actually using Calm for, I would say, at least, I looked it up, right, 10 years or so. The first semester that you use it, or the first year, is probably going to take the most amount of time, because you have to go in and figure out how to add students. You have to figure in how to add the questions and search for them. You have to set the due dates. And so there's some things in there that just take time, but the next time you go in, all of your question structure will still be there. Now, of course, you can go and say, oh, I didn't like that question, or I would like to add a new topic, that we want to cover this now, and you can make those changes, but it's not as big as an intensive time commitment to keep it going. All right, so here you go, the philosophy. It's based on the Socratic pedagogy, where you kind of can ask students leading questions to get them to think things through. So some of the questions have multiple steps. For example, this one, here's the initial one. If they get it right, it moves them to one way. If they get them wrong, it says, no, that's not quite right. And then it leads them to another question, kind of baby step it through. I actually wrote one question. I've written more than one question, but I did write one question in Calm where I thought, oh, this is a pretty good question, where, I ask them, it's some type of stoichiometric conversion one, and if I asked the whole question at once. If they got it right, boom, they were done. If they got it wrong, then I led them to the parts. Hey, let's go from grams to moles. Okay, let's go from moles to moles, and so it led them into pieces. So you could find questions like this, or ask them in questions that can kind of lead them through. Let's see, navigation. So this is kind of just showing you some of the setup. So Calm is used all over. So your students would just go to calm.indiana.edu and they get the main screen, and then they would have to select high school or college. So they'd select, for most of you, it would be high school. Then they go to the state, there's a pull down, and then school, pull down, and then sometimes the school might have two instructors using Calm, so then they can go and pick their instructor. And then each instructor could have multiple courses. So if you teach both chemistry, an AP chemistry, and even there are some physics questions in here. I know Eileen was saying that she teaches physics as well. You could have several different courses set up on here, and the students would pick the right one. You have to set up a username and a password for your students, and then provide that to them. They aren't able to do that themselves, so you do set that up for them. And then they will log in, and it will look something like this. And it's got these menus that students can easily kind of navigate. They're pretty good at these navigation systems, more than us even, but you can open up, expand things. You can see the different ways that you have it broken up, maybe by chapters or topics or whatever. You can label things, have different questions in there, and you can see some color-coded things. So if there's a due date and it's open and available, it would be green, and I don't remember actually what yellow is. Maybe no due date set or something, or past due.
Viewable, but not yet. Like it was there, but it wasn't open to you yet.
Oh, that could be, yes. Yeah. So you can set it. So if you're working on it, especially your first year, you would be able to see things as you're getting ready, but it might, if it's not, you can have it set so students don't get to actually see the questions until they're due. Thanks, right. Kristen. All right. So that's navigation. There's all different types of questions. The multiple choice is the one I like the least, right? Because students can be A, B, C, you got it, right? Without putting much thought into it. I told you before that all of the questions they can keep redoing without points taken away until they get it correct, except for multiple choice. You can set it so that it actually deducts points for multiple choice to prevent them from doing that guessing A, B, C, D.
I routinely do it and they hate that. They hate that feature, which I'm going to keep it in just for that.
They really do hate that. And so I try to avoid multiple choice if I can. But sometimes there's some good multiple choice questions. Multiple select, then it's more than one option. It could be the correct choice. The numerical ones where they are set up and they have to solve like a formula or whatever, and so you can enter those in, and so all the students would get different answers or different numbers in the first place and then different numbers. Graphical, so like this one right here, like pick the most acidic proton. They actually have to click where the most acidic is, and it will say, hey, yes, correct or incorrect, try again. Like the one I showed before, multiple stage, where you get it right, now you move into the second part type thing. And there are even essay questions in here, or you could write your own if you had a specific question. The only thing is those ones are not going to be graded. So you would have to go in and grade those ones yourself. You can see, if you look at the bottom two examples, these are actually both topic 10, chapter 9, section 1, question 6, right? They have the same index number. They're the same question in the database, but this is just showing you how one student gets it and the other student might get it, and they have different question IDs, and there are different numbers of moles that they're starting with, and a different compound, right? We have manganese 4 oxide, and my pictures are on top of the other one, the zinc chloride in the other one. So, you can see how you can't just sit and copy, that you would have to actually work this through and talk to the person if you're gonna try to work with somebody. When you look at the question as the instructor, you will see kind of in bold and parentheses after the blank what the correct answer is. And I always recommend, like, before you give an assignment, to go through and test and make sure, because that's always the worst when the students do it right, but there's an error in the question. And at this point, this shouldn't happen that much. But since this is a community of instructors putting these questions together, they're not getting all checked by one person at the end. And you know how easy it is to make a mistake yourself on an answer key or something. So, it can be easy to make mistakes. And so if you see a mistake happen, you can see at the top menu, there is a thing that says trouble report. You can, as the instructor or even your students, can fill this out and say, hey, on this question, and always reference the question index number, this should be this or this. And then the programmer who gets this, Jeremy, is not a chemist. So then he would send it to me or someone else and be like, hey, can you double check this? So we can easily get questions fixed if you notice an error, and that would really help us out instead of just letting it go for someone else to figure out. After the answer here, you can see that there's an error percent. Okay, so this is like a 1% error is allowed for these. That way students don't have to worry so much about correct sig figs. They can
get it rounding errors in the calculator.
Yeah,
algorithms.
That helps, right? For sure.
It makes
now there's some questions that are very specific sig fig questions where they have to answer the correct sig figs, but most of them are not. I don't tell my students that. I still tell them they should answer to the correct sig figs. But if they don't, it doesn't really mark them up.
Kim, were you going to talk about the question ID at all here?
Yeah, so the question ID is specific, like I said earlier, to that student. And if the student works, let's say they start this question, but then they need to go and they want to come back to this later, when they log into this again and they go to section 1, question 6, they'll actually get a different question again. Now, what they need to do is just take that question ID number from before, plug it in the menu spot, and then hit go to this question, and they'll get the same one pulled up. Now, a friend,
handy too, if the students are having trouble with a question, I keep getting it wrong and I don't know why, you can pull up the exact question ID and get the exact thing that they were trying to work through and see if you can help them figure out where their error was. Because it's usually it's something that the students have done wrong. Occasionally it's how they entered it, but usually they've made a mistake in their reasoning somewhere. But you can then
Excellent.
track that down and get exactly the right question, which makes them
Yes,
much happier.
excellent. So when your students are having trouble, you will want to ask for the question ID and then also what question this is, section 1, question 6 with this ID number. And then you can go right back and find it yourself. That's a very good point. Thank you. Any questions you guys have so far?
I have a quick question about signing up for this. So if I go in and I put my school in and my name and I put a course in and there's 4 other people who teach the same course, do they go in and then kind of set up their own account just under the same school name or whatever?
Yeah, so yeah, it would be by teacher. So it'd be school and then teacher.
Okay.
And then you can call it, you know, Chem 1 or whatever. Now, if you teach Chem 1 and you teach it 2 periods of the day, you could put them all into one course to make it easier for yourself. And when you add them in, you could put them then you can add the section. So as you're adding the students to the one single roster, you can say, you know, 005 for 5th period or something. So you can separate them out later by their different course periods, but you'd want them all in that one course if they're all like just regular chemistry, and then you'd have another course for honors chemistry or another course for physics or whatever. Let's say you and another teacher both want to use Calm and you want to have the same exact questions. You can easily have one of you set it up, and then Jeremy can actually then copy a course over. So that's kind of a really nice feature too. You can say, hey, please take Eileen's course and copy it into Leslie's course. And that's pretty nice. So, you know, like Kristen has hers set up already.
Mm-hmm.
You could be like, I would like
I'm more than happy to
Kristen's
share.
course.
I have AP set up right now. I keep talking about using it with honors and never quite get to it, but this year it might really happen.
Yeah. So there's lots of things like that to do. And it definitely is the learning process in the beginning, and then it kind of becomes somewhat second nature as you go.
Right.
Can a course get copied over more than once? So like if I get the first couple chapters or whatever set up and then I send them over to everybody and then I get the next 2 set up and we can copy them over to people, does that work?
You know, that would be a good Jeremy question. I would think so.
Okay.
Kim, a question came up about how many questions, are there a lot of questions available for organic chemistry?
There should be. I actually did not look. There's over 10,000 questions in the database. And some are physics, but most of them are chemistry. And there are some organic. You can see there's a couple examples here, but not as many organic. You know, you're going to have a lot more just dimensional analysis type questions, a lot more stoichiometry questions. There's quite a few redox and other things. The great thing is, I'll go to the next slide here. There is this question database. So as you're trying to go through and select questions that you want to use, you can search by keyword. And a lot of them most of them should have keywords added to them. You know, so you can see this one right here. It would, if someone said molar mass or molecular weight or stoichiometry, any of those things would have pulled up this question right here. And then of course you can preview the question right here. So here's, you know, this person searched stoichiometry, even just a short abbreviation for that. And let's see, 46 questions were found. Oops, oh, nope, I'm not on the actual page, let me go. And then you can go through, select all of them that you want. You can click right here where it's underlined and it will pull up a preview of it. So you can kind of just see if it's something that you want. If not, you can just keep going until you find it. There are some standards with the Indiana state standards. Now, I'm not sure how updated those have been. And I'm not sure if any of you are following the Indiana state standards, if you know how much they go between other states, but I would probably just say the keyword thing works really well. You could also just type in the question number. So you could go in here and type in, I just want to see what question 1000 is, and then whatever question 1000 is would appear. Or if someone shares with you, if Kristen's like, oh, I found a great question, it's question number, you know, 305. you could type in 305 there and find that question. There's other things here. Check if they're editor based. If you want it to check for significant figures, you can click that. If you want it to be a multi-stage, and then difficulty, depends on who made this up to figure out what the difficulty level is. But there's just a couple different ways to kind of search the questions. They should all show you, like this one has 2 stages. It's pretty generic. I'm not sure what else.
It tells you sometimes if there are other questions that it overlaps with. Sometimes people wrote in similar questions and they didn't realize they had already written a similar question. And so questions 246 and 249, actually, sometimes they'll tell you, oh, they're the same, except there's extra choices in this one or something. You do have to watch for that as you're searching.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes you'll come across some really great questions and you'll keep those. And sometimes you'll come across questions you're like, that's a really badly written question. That one makes no sense. Then you would say, I'm not going to put that one in. So it's totally you constructing your course initially. And then again, it should be pretty good to go from year to year after that.
All right. And there are a lot of custom questions in there. When you do the search, you'll find questions that are like, this was clearly written to be part of a pre-lab quiz kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I saw one like, I've seen one like, where is the, first aid kit located in the lab? It's over by the sink and, in the northeast corner of the room. So some are very specific to whoever wrote them. You can also put in your own questions. So there's a question editor. I have written a couple questions and then I've forgotten how to do it. And then I could go back and I could probably relearn. There is some tools that kind of help. If you pick a question, there's little things that kind of guide you and lead you. But if you add some multi-stage ones, it can get a little tricky. Kristen, have you added questions yourself?
I have done a couple. And some of them are fine. One of them I had to throw out, and not throw out, but take out of assigning to my students because it was a delta G to K calculation, and the range I chose meant that sometimes students would end up with questions where it was not possible for them to generate an answer because their calculator would do an overflow error. But that was just because I didn't think it through very well. But I have done some. It's on my perpetual list of things to do. Write more questions in Calm. And it's one of those things that I don't get to very often. So there was one somewhere I wrote 10 or 20 questions, but mostly I rely on the questions that are already in there because there are so many, and because they're flexible questions. They do, many of them, not all, but a great number of them do generate different values, in the questions. And I think Kim's got some pictures of some of those options where you can set up, all right, there's a numerical prompt value as part of the prompt, and you can set it to be a range. So then it uses that, it sets up the calculations for the answers to to account for that range of possible values and things, which is where I ran into problems with that one question. So you can, if you can't find the question that you want, you can make it, but chances are you're going to find something that you like already in the database.
Yes, that's for sure. Oftentimes too, I just want to throw this in here. It looks like this was a multiple choice question. This one in the bottom left, if they wouldn't just have one correct and 3 incorrect choices, and then they just get, moved around the order. Oftentimes the tables allow for multiple correct, multiple incorrect. And so even if it's a multiple choice question, 2 students can get totally different kind of questions because there's different correct ones and incorrect options. So that's kind of another nice feature there.
It's a really powerful editor in that way. And a lot of the, you'll see questions with all these different capabilities because of that, which is awesome.
So here's just some stats that I kind of pulled up. First developed by Romaldo in '96 and used pretty early on in the 2000s in the chemistry department at first. It's a great tool and wanted to make it useful for high school teachers. So I think high school teachers started using it in 2006. I looked up how many different states. 41 states have had teachers make requests for courses. Now, that doesn't mean they all started using it and kept using it, because of that big learning curve, a lot of times teachers are like, I'm overwhelmed. So then they kind of get the request, but then they stop. But we've had over 300 teachers make course requests, and the longest one has been using Calm consistently every year for 12 years. And I looked up, Kristen has been using it. This will be her 10th year using it. So last year there were 17 different states that had actively using Calm. So that's kind of fun and exciting there. Here you go. This is what you need to know. How do you get started? If this is kind of getting you ready for it, go to calm.indiana.edu. That's that main page right here that you would see. And then a couple down, right, you can see course requests. And if you go there, you'd have to fill out just a couple basic information pieces. They want to know your school email address. And I think Jeremy does do a quick check to make sure that you exist at that school and that you're not just a student trying to sign up for a free account type thing. So he does do a little bit of a check there. And you have to give information like, hey, I want 2 courses, name this and this or whatever. But you'll then be emailed with instructions and informational login information. So once you have your information, you can get in and start logging students in and adding questions. It's a little clunky, like we said, so it does have a learning curve. There are these really nice video tutorials that, a few years ago, we have paid to have these kind of professionally done. And it's the link right here. And you would just click on video tutorials. It's broken down into topics and stuff. So they're little short clips, not really big, long ones. So you can just kind of go through the things that you need to get help with. There's also demonstration. If you just want to get in there, there's a demo page. If you just want to go in and play with it, I think you are not able to get into like the question data. There's something that we don't want students to be able to like go look up answers. So I think you can get in and kind of play, but you don't get everything when you go on that. That's pretty much it. Now I do know that Jeremy is our one programmer and he is on vacation through the end of this week. So if it doesn't get added and you don't get an email from IU right away, please be patient with him. He is, I think, I have no idea where, but he's enjoying a little bit of a break before IU starts up. So I think we can kind of have a conversation. We can show, let's see, we have 10 minutes left or so, a little less than that.
We have about 7 minutes or so. Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions that you have for Kristen or I? And I could open up Calm if anyone wants to itself and show you as well.
Yeah. We can actually, I think we have a poll option for this.
Okay.
Doesn't quite get to it, none of these. But we can just talk about it. There's not that many of us here. We can just talk, or you can put a comment in the chat. It's with all of these systems, you have to put some time into setting it up. But you can set, once your course is there, you can set it up by unit by unit. You don't have to have it all at the very beginning of the year where you have all units for the whole course ready to go. You can just build them as you go. You're going to have to change up, even when you already have it, you have to change your due dates, and you may want to change questions around. Oh, this question kept coming up as an issue. I'm going to pull it out, It's also fairly easy to keep track of student success. So there's, once students have finished a problem set, you can go and bring that up, and you can do it section by section or for all the students enrolled in that course, and look at how many questions had you assigned, how many of them were correct, how many of them were turned in late, if you're really being careful about due dates, and that's a whole other discussion. Because I'll tell my AP students, I'll give it to them the first day of the unit, have these done by the day. There's a due date 2 days before the test, but what I really care about is they're done before you take the test, and I'm going to put your scores in while you take the unit test. So I don't care if it's late, as long as it's done before I put the grades in. Once the grades are in, you're done. I'm not going to change it again. But you do have to put that time in, but it's very worthwhile in terms of that instant feedback. It really does make a difference for the kids.
Can you show us maybe what the grade book looks like?
Sure, I can. I actually have a little PowerPoint ready to go. And so I'm going to share that screen. Let's see if I can find which one it is. Hold on.
While you're looking that up, does it also address how easily you can recycle assignments between years or
Oh,
add
that's super
subtract
easy.
from groups?
Can you give me 1 second to go bring up the right window?
Thank you.
Yeah, there should be there's a button on the thing that says reset the course for, another semester. It removes the students, but it keeps all the assignments. So then you just add the new students the next year.
That's what I meant. Yes.
And there is this other button that also is a backup. There's backups all the time. So if you make mistakes, you can just refresh the course from a previous backup too. So
it's rare. It's very hard to lose everything. It's very robust in that sense. I use it mostly for asynchronous assignments. So I give it, like I said, on the first day of the unit in my assignment sheet, have it done by this date. I haven't done it much with practice tests, but really that's what a lot of this is. For those of you who are AP teachers, the assignments are not, the questions are not AP exam-like. Content you can find, but they're not in the style of the AP exam. It's more about the core skills and practicing that. At least that's been my experience. You can set up topics and subtopics. So I'm creating a new course for my honor students. I've just never really used it. So you can think about, okay, what's my first chapter? Do I want sections? You can actually assign the due dates by the subtopics or the sections. And you can, as you're doing that, you can search, you can do it by the numbers, or you can search by topic with the question search feature that Kim mentioned, which does make it easier to do. And then you do have to upload, you yourself have to put all the students into this. The students don't sign themselves up. So you have to set up a spreadsheet. I usually just do Excel and upload it where it's got all the information for all of these blocks. And you give them a username and a password. And put in their information. It doesn't take very long. I use a random number generator to help me come up with passwords. And that goes pretty smoothly. And then again, you can look at the questions and the subtopics. So this is my AP course, and you can see about all different kinds of things. I can set due dates, I can expand it. My AP students had 3 parts of the review section, and they were due on different days, and I could set that up and monitor that, which was really nice. And this is what, if you go into it's basically the TA mode of this. If you're signed in, you can look at what questions were assigned and what students did them, and how much credit they got for them. So it's actually fairly easy to do that. Usually that's what I just enter those scores in. Oh, there were 17 questions assigned and they got 13.52 correct because they lost some points on multiple choice because they took too many tries to answer it, which usually they don't like, but they'll live. It's not a big part of their grade. And then I can enter that into my grade book that way. And that's usually how I do that. And that's it for slides. I didn't go into great detail with that, but I just thought showing that you can get all the information that you need. I love that it's free. There's always new questions. You can write your own. It's very usable in that way. The user interface is not super, it's not slick. If slick is what you want, you're going to have to pay for that. But if you want reliable and free, Calm's a good way to go. All right, well, we do have to end this meeting because we have I have to go. You guys don't have to go, I suppose, although I want you to go. But we have a wrap-up meeting for the day before we break for the coffee house. And there is a Zoom watch, or not a Zoom watch party, but a YouTube watch party to talk about things tonight. But because I'm sort of running this, I kind of have to go. And since I'm the host of this meeting, when I leave, the meeting shuts down. So
thank you, everybody.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
I can post this file
Thank
into
you.
the Google Drive as well. And Kim, if you share your file with us, we can post that if you're willing to do that.
Yes, certainly.
That would be great. You can just share it to the NEACT 1898 account.
Sounds
We'll
good.
set that up. Great. It was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to end this and take care. Kim, thank you very much for presenting. You're welcome.
You're
If your
welcome.
schedule allows for you to come to any of our other sessions that you're interested in, please feel free to do so. I know it's busy with getting ready to go back to school, but I wanted to have that option be open.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.